still haven't called me yet, so we'll go ahead and throw in part 2 or make it try to get in as much as we can until they do call me. In the last video, I was telling you, the basics of just a few things that you're going to need to get started up good shop. But I can't stress enough the truck. Buy the right equipment for what you want to do. If you're going to run if you're going to run over the road, you're going to stay in the truck for days and days and days. You may want the big condo, whatever. If you're going to pull a tanker, you don't want a condo. You want more of a mid-roof. Or if you want to be, too cool for school, get you a flat top. But for the most part, get you a mid-roof. If you're going to pull a reefer or a box, go ahead and get you a condo for, fuel economy and room in the cab and whatnot. But as far as manufacturers go, myself, I would never buy a Volvo because they have steel floors and they will rust out. And Volvo has a lot of dealer-specific parts, and they rape you on the price of those parts. Myself, I wouldn't buy anything. I mean, I started out with Freightliner, ran Freightliners, and I ran a few Internationals. Great trucks, good work trucks, solid trucks. Nothing super fancy about them unless you go with I had the 132/64 classic long nose, or you could get the 08 and up. You could get the Coronado. Those are nice trucks. Fairings are going to be a problem. I'm a big guy. I have trouble. My truck has full fairings on it. I have trouble getting under my truck. There's only certain points of entry, and then I got to wiggle my way up to where I got to work. If you can avoid it, don't buy a truck with fairings. They're a hassle, and they don't give you that much better fuel mileage. I don't care what anybody says. It's not a noticeable amount to justify the hassle of keeping all the mounting mechanisms and keeping them from shaking and rattling, and just avoid fairings if you can. Plus, I think a truck with open fuel tanks looks better. But, number one thing is get the right engine. The ISX 07 and older, that first generation ISX was a pretty good engine. They're expensive to rebuild, but they're still a pretty good engine. If at all possible, get you a glider kit. I mean, hands down. Like I said, the 12.7 Series 60 Detroit, excellent engine. 3406E model Cats, the first generation electronic Caterpillar. Just a solid engine. But as a general rule, Caterpillar is going to cost you about 30% more for parts. Just the availability of mechanics. There's less mechanics that work on Cat motors. Almost every shop out there has the little Detroit and Cummins symbol, because the N14, the N14 Select Plus. I wouldn't buy a regular old N14 mechanical. I would go with the N14 Select Plus, which is the first generation electronic N14. Solid engine. That's what I've got in this truck. Horsepower. You'll have people tell you, you're going to pull flatbed or you're going to pull heavy. You need big horse. No, you don't. My engine has 550 horsepower, and that's all you're going to safely get out of these engines. You can crank them up to 600, 650. I've seen guys with 750. I mean, yeah, you could do that, but your engine's not going to make it to 1.2, 1.3, 1.4 million miles. Just longevity's not there. That engine's too hot. If you're running a lot of flat ground and you don't use that horsepower all the time, it might make it. But if you're pulling mountains or hills, don't go over 550 horsepower. You're going to cook that motor. Your turbo, most trucks will have a pyrometer gauge. Watch that turbo temperature, man. When that dude starts heating up 1,200-1,300 degrees, you better back out of it. Drop a gear and just creep up that mountain. That big horsepower will burn that motor down. I pull down the road hauling heavy. I pull gross weight 120,000 pounds with 550 horsepower all day long. Been doing it for years. Does just fine. You don't need that big horsepower. That's just, overcompensation. You know what I mean? Bragging rights. You don't need that horsepower. Get you a good, dependable, reliable truck. Yeah, you're going to have, with an older truck, you're going to have more piddly things. Maybe some brake chambers, an airline here or there. A lot of people are like, oh, you got to replace the wiring harness. No, you don't. Not unless there's rub point. Now, there will be the occasional, short in the wire where it's mounted to the frame rails running down the truck. You have occasional wiring issues. But, for the most part, unless it's the wire going to your ECM, it's pretty daggone easy to fix. Finding it's the hard part. But if you know how to do it, you just start tracing your wiring harness and you look, oh, hey, there's a mounting point, so let's check that close. Is there any rub through? You just go up the line. You find anywhere that looks like it's rubbed through, pull that harness, start pulling it apart, and see. Yep, chances are there's your short. It's not that difficult. But the number one thing to get yourself set up right is a reliable truck that's going to go the distance and not kill you on maintenance costs. It's not going to shut down every time you turn around. Number two, have a good shop to fix things and make a list of the little stuff that's going wrong out on the road. And when you get, call ahead to your shop and let them know I'm going to be home Wednesday or Thursday or whatever. I need you to get me in. I got a list of things to do. And you get all your things fixed and you go back out on the road. It minimizes your on-road maintenance. And then there's, the stuff you carry in your truck, but that'll be a whole nother video. But so you're going to need the 20% down, a good shop, a basic knowledge of how to work on a truck, a good piece of equipment that's going to be reliable and go the distance. And when you've got all of those things and you're ready to go and you find a company that's going to lease you on, okay, now, first thing you're going to do, let's take it to the next step. The first thing you're going to do when you start making money, a lot of people will make the mistake, I call it getting redneck rich. They'll go from making truck driver employee money to owner-operator money, and they go hog wild. Next thing you know, they're driving a brand new pickup. They're out buying that brand new, Elvis commemorative decorative plate because it's cool and I just got it. No. When you first start out as an owner-operator, you pay yourself no more than what you were making as an employee prior. So say as an employee you're bringing home net after taxes and whatever, you can even go with your gross numbers. Say you're making $1,200 to $1,500 a week. You pay yourself and you maintain your lifestyle at that, and then everything above that. So let's go $1,500. Say you make $1,500 a week as an employee driver. You pay yourself $1,500 a week for the first, and it doesn't take long. A couple of months tops. You might have a check to the house for $2,700, $2,800, $3,100. You're only going to pay yourself and live on that $1,500. The rest of that money goes into an account that's earmarked for two things. Or you can do two accounts. I just do one because I'm good with money. Taxes, because you got to pay your own as an owner-operator. You don't have tax withholdings coming out of your check. You fill out a W-9 and they give you a 1099 at the end of the year with your gross income, and then you have to do your CPA. I do my own because I understand tax law and I know how to read, and I can do research, and the laws change every year. I mean, sometimes it's a little bit of a hassle, and I think I should get a CPA, but for the most part, I get it done myself, and it's all right there. It's pretty easy to do. If you can read and understand their, legalese, it's not too difficult to figure it out. But that's where your deductions come in, and that's a whole nother video right there. But I don't want to get into telling you how to do your taxes because I'm not a tax advisor and I'm not a lawyer, so I don't want any of that responsibility. But you're going to need to take everything above that $1,500 and put it in that maintenance account. Number one thing that account's going to be for is maintenance. You need, as an owner-operator, to be safe and sleep good at night and be able to do any kind of repair that comes along, you need at least $20,000 in that maintenance account. Minimum. Because look at it this way, an engine overhaul is going to be $15,000 to $20,000. So you're going to need that 20 in that savings account. You might have to tap into your checking too if you blow a motor. But it doesn't take long. Like I said, within the first couple of months, you'll have that 20 grand in that maintenance account. Don't ever touch it. If for some reason you do, maybe you have a bigger repair, like say a rear end goes out, and you got to spend $3,500 to have your rear end changed out. So you want to use money out of that savings account because your checking account is maybe a little on the thin side. So you want to use your maintenance fund. As soon as you pull money out of that maintenance fund, you got to go back to living cheaply and make sure you keep your overhead low enough that you can do this. You got to be able to go back to living cheaply until you fill that maintenance account back up to $20,000. Then you can go back to living like an owner-operator. But you always need that $20,000 in that maintenance account. Trust me, it will save you so much headache. That since I started doing that, it has saved my bacon more times than I can't even count the amount of times where I was like, holy crap, that's going to be expending my, 6-7 months ago. No, it's about a year and a half ago now. My transmission went out, and I'm not going to rebuild this transmission. It's much, much cheaper to just go get a new reman transmission. So I called a company called LKQ. It's a junkyard nationwide. They got junk parts and they rebuild rear ends and transmissions, and they're good people. They got warranty. I did my transmissions, a 13-speed Eaton Fuller. Transmission was junk, and I managed to limp it home somehow by the grace of God. I got that thing limped home, dropped my trailer, and limped the truck on up to the shop. All in all, it took 3 days to do it because, obviously I was in a hurry, so I put it in the shop. It was emergency repair, got me right in, pulled that training out, and as soon as he had that transmission out and he was starting to get it prepped, he called me. I said, we had it set up. He called me and said, okay, training's out, come and get it. So I immediately hopped in my pickup, boogied up to the shop. He threw that old transmission in my truck. I had already got the new one located, found, and ready to be purchased, and I shot way over to another state. Watsika, Illinois is where I bought it from, actually. LKQ there. So I took that old transmission, shot up to Watsika, and told them, okay, verify these are the same. Yep, that model number. Yep, that's the same transmission. Okay, gear housing set up. Let's adjust this. And they had the new transmission set up just like the old transmission. So they pulled the old one off, put the new one on the trailer, wrote the man a check, used the debit card, but bought the transmission, zipped back to the shop. It took all of about 4 hours. So by the end of that first day, the transmission had been pulled out of the truck. I took it, got another one, brought it back, and dropped it off. So on the second day, he's ready to start throwing the new transmission in. By the end of the second day, he had the transmission in, truck's ready to go. 2 days. Altogether, that entire repair cost me about $3,500. And no problem. Truck's ready to go. I only lost 2 days. Transmission went out on a Tuesday, so I knew I was going to give up the rest of the week. So I took it to the shop and said, I got to have this thing running by Friday, because my shop that does my truck doesn't work on Saturday or Sunday. So 5 p.m. Friday, that truck's got to be ready to roll. Make it happen, Captain. And he did. By Thursday, I was actually ready to go. So yeah, you need that maintenance account. I knew, of course, when I did that, my checking account, I had plenty of money, so I never touched that maintenance account. That's more of my, pardon my language, I call that my oh shit account. When something happens and you go, how am I going to pay for that? That's where that account comes in. Just trust me, 20 grand minimum. Because you overhaul a motor, you're going to spend 20 grand. That's a given. Just depends on how hog wild you go. New injectors, water pump, the list goes on and on and on. New turbo, a lot of engine builders will tell you, oh, you gotta replace all this. No, you don't. Injectors either work or they don't. If you got bad injectors, you replace them. If the injectors are working just fine, you're rebuilding the motor, don't replace those injectors. You don't replace them until at least one goes bad. Then, like for a Cummins, the ISX that was in this 2013, I had an injector go out on that. It was $1,000 just to buy the injector. This Cummins, I had an injector start acting funny, so it started chopping in the idle. So I had him do what's called the cutoff test, where they plug the computer in and they set it right at the roughest part of the chop, and then they start cutting off injectors one at a time and turning them back on until they figure out which one. Hey, I shut off number 3 and the chop didn't change, so number 3 is your bad injector. I bought all 6 injectors. It's called a 6-pack. I bought a 6-pack of injectors for $1,800. 6 of them in 14 Select Plus. Cheaper parts, cheaper maintenance, easier to fix, all around better. You drag that trailer down my mirror and we're going to have to talk, mister. That was cutting her a little too close for my comfort. Okay, he cleared me. Yeah, truck pulling out beside me. I thought he's getting ready to take my mirror off. But, God dog, y'all, I'm telling you what, it's February. I got to turn the air conditioner on. It is getting mighty toasty out here. But yeah, keep that maintenance account. Your tools, you've got your shop set up, you're ready to go, you're making money, and that doing whatever you can do, changing your oil, having a spot where you can. I live out in the country, so I got plenty of land. I can park my truck out at the house, do a lot of maintenance right there at the house. It saves me a lot of money. There's a lot of times I just don't feel like doing it, and I'll do a rolling oil change at the truck stop. That's about all that truck stops do to my truck. Unless it's an emergency, I can't move the truck, or they'll do rolling oil changes for me, or I've got tires that I want put on. I won't buy tires through them because they're $700 plus for a tire that through my company I'm buying for $400 and some dollars. It's utterly ridiculous how bad these truck stops are raping people. So through my almost every company out there has a national account on tires. That's one thing you'll find out as you get leased on with companies. You go to the tire stores, and if you don't have time to get it put on, at least buy the tires, throw them in your trailer, and get to a truck stop. It's a fairly decent price. They'll change out your tires. You supply the tires. The way they make their big money is by marking up their tires 50 and 60% and raping you on the price of the tire. But another little tidbit, another trick that I've learned: buy your tires, carry them with you. A lot of trailers, I don't have room under mine for a spare tire rack, but it's a flatbed. I just throw it on the tail end, strap them down, and good to go. I always got a spare on my trailer. But yeah, that's very, 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 very important to have that $20,000 maintenance account. And you have to pay yourself first. I've read so many books on wealth, how to build wealth. Every book I've ever read on building wealth, one thing they tell you is you've got to pay yourself first. The rich, when they make money, number one, there's so much more to it than that. But when you make money, say you make let's keep it easy, you got $1,000. The first thing you do with that $1,000 is 20% off the top goes into your account for savings, not maintenance, not savings for your business, your savings, your investments, your retirement, all the 20% off the top. Every time before any bill gets paid, 20% comes off the top and goes into that account. The other 80% is what you live on. And if you can't live on the 80% of what you're making, your debt to income ratio is way off. You've got to change that. Get that debt paid off. Get it down. Don't go buying new cars. You should be able to live very comfortably on that 80% of what you're making. That way that 20% religiously comes off the top. A lot of companies have the direct deposit set up to where you can split your money as they direct deposit it. You'll fill out the form and give them a blank check with the account numbers. I have mine set up to where 20% goes into this account, 80% goes into the checking account. I don't even have to think about it, and my account just grows and grows and grows. And sometimes it doesn't seem like much, but after just a very short while, you'll look in that savings account and be like, holy crap, I have got some serious money saved up. Maybe it's a vacation fund, whatever, but pay yourself first. Always pay yourself first. And bill collectors can wait, man. Waiting an extra week for that money ain't gonna hurt them. But hopefully you're not in that position. I pray you're not, but it's not that difficult, guys. It's not that difficult to be an owner-operator once you know the basics of everybody out here's got their hand out. The state troopers, they love, if you're driving a big truck, if you've never driven a big truck, you're getting ready to walk into a hornet's nest. Every state trooper and DOT out here across the country is gunning for you, looking for any reason they can find to pull you over and write you even the silliest little, you had a taillight out. That's part of their quota. They got to get so many tickets in a month, and I don't care what any cop tells you, they have a quota. They get a new cruiser, a new upgraded whatever, maybe they got the new Dodge Charger or whatever, or a new Tahoe. Well, they got their quota. It goes accordingly with their new cruiser. Oh, you want the new Tahoe? Well, you got to write, I don't know how many, I'll just say 30, 40, 50 tickets a month to justify having this new expensive cruiser. They've got quotas. I've got a friend who's a state trooper that, in no uncertain terms, don't let them BS you. They have quotas. When the state starts running low on money, which right now everything is so slow, these jurisdictions and states are running low on funds. It's a feeding frenzy out here right now. They're writing. I'm seeing these cops, 4 or 5 of them sitting in DOT, 2, 3, 4 trucks at a time in the back. They're sitting in the middle of the road as you drive by. They're pulling you in, pulling you off on side roads and weighing you. If you're running a hot shot, good luck. They are gunning for you because they know almost none of them hot shots are legal. There's very, very specific things you have to make that hot shot legal. And the number one thing they're getting people on is I don't need a CDL because I'm not hauling more than 26,000 pounds. If your vehicle is rated for more, your gross vehicle weight, which is your truck and your trailer, if it's rated for more than 26,000 pounds, you got to have CDL to drive it. Sorry, it's the law. They get people on that all the time. Over length, their trailer's too long for their equipment. Not having a CDL, or they'll get an F-250 and think that they can put this, 5-car trailer on the back or a 3-car wedge and haul these big Sprinter vans or whatever, you're overloaded. You can't do that, you know. It just, and they know it, so they're gunning for hot shots. They gun for heavy haulers like me. They see multiple axles. You know, there's all kinds of kooky little laws. In Indiana, I can drive the speed limit at 120,000 with my axles down, as long as I got a heavy haul permit. As soon as I cross into Ohio, my speed limit drops to 55 mile an hour. No matter where I'm at, what I'm doing, what kind of traffic, doesn't matter. If you're over 80,000 pounds, your speed limit's 55 mile an hour. And then as soon as I get back into Michigan, I don't even need a heavy haul permit in Michigan because it's all done through your license plates. They're an axle state. So as soon as I hit Michigan, I can go right back up to the speed limit and everything's all good. Ohio, they got one of them crazy laws. But there's a lot to learn. And unfortunately, the best way to learn it is just jump in head first and trial by fire, man. But I'll give you as much information as I can to make it as easy of a transition as possible. And I can't believe they still haven't called me in to get unloaded yet. I'm already 33 minutes past my appointment. Got to go. I'll do another part video a little bit later on. I got to think a little bit, but yeah, y'all have a good day. Don't forget, like and subscribe.